People out there, my name is Darin. My first name, my real name is Darin. My last name is Geddes, Geddes. I'm a Stellarton rat. I was born in Stellarton. I live in Trenton. I'm related to Paddy Allen and the people, my family in Toro. I know the McKenzie boys, James, Alvin, Earl, Daniel's father. I haven't known Earl. I only spotted him once. I've seen him a few times, but I've known James and Alvin and the rest of them for years.
Geddes, a man not prone to conspiracy or gossip, began to speak out in the weeks that followed. What he said wasn't wild speculation. It was something simpler, quieter, and perhaps more unsettling. He alleged that in all the noise of the search, key questions had never been asked. What was the condition of the trailer itself? Not just the door or the kids' shoes by the porch, but the inside, the living room where the children were last seen. Was anything out of place? Had the couch been moved? Were toys scattered or oddly untouched? Were there signs of struggle or signs that no struggle happened at all? Geddes said no one ever asked him, or anyone he knew, whether they'd seen unusual activity in the weeks before. More importantly, he questioned why investigators seemed to gloss over what he called the scene that mattered most, the trailer, the only place anyone knew the children had been that morning. He claimed the area around the back door, where the children supposedly exited, showed no debris, no dirt disturbed, no scuff marks, as if the earth itself had been erased. No kids walk out of a rural trailer without kicking up gravel, he told a local reporter, especially not barefoot, especially not without leaving behind some sign they were ever there.
Boy, and I can't say who they are, and I can't really say what they told me, but it's ironclad. It's 1,000% true, okay? I know exactly what happened to the kids. The kids are alive. The kids are probably not in Nova Scotia now, but the kids are safe. The kids are being taken care of by, I'm sure, by Malaya's native people. My number one goal, if we could get those kids back alive, that would have been it. Knowing what I found out today through CPS and the information that I found out from this person, and believe me, it's ironclad. It's 1,000%. The kids are alive, and somebody has them that's taking care of them. Meadow is in custody of CPS, and they're going to decide where Meadow goes. Jack and Lily, I'm telling you, they're alive, and I'm sure they're being protected by the Native community, probably not the Native community in Shubenacadie, and they may not even be in Canada. Now, that's what I know, and there's a big difference between what I know and what I think, so I just told you what I know.
In hushed tones over family dinners, Geddes said, suspicions grew. His relatives began to whisper what many feared to say aloud, that what happened that morning wasn't spontaneous. It wasn't some tragic accident. It was deliberate, planned, staged even. And while Geddes didn't point fingers, his voice, once dismissed as noise, started to echo louder in the corners of the investigation. Former skeptics began revisiting his claims. Journalists dug into his timeline, and for the first time, it seemed the narrative might crack, because if the inside of that trailer held answers, someone either missed them or covered them up. And if Geddes was right, then this wasn't just a missing persons case gone cold. It was something darker, something that began not in the woods, but in the silence of that living room. Before the children vanished, before the mother stepped outside, before anyone had time to scream. As weeks turned into months, Geddes remained one of the few voices unwilling to let go of the subtle, uncomfortable inconsistencies. He wasn't an investigator. He wasn't a journalist. But he was family, or close enough to know when something didn't feel right. He said he remembered Angela acting strangely at a family gathering just 2 weeks before the disappearance, quiet, distracted, eyes always darting toward her phone. He claimed she had whispered to someone outside during dinner, then left early without saying goodbye. At the time, no one thought much of it. But now, in hindsight, everything looked different. Geddes began keeping a personal record. Dates, behaviors, conversations. He noted how quickly Angela packed up and left the trailer after the search slowed down. How Daniel, the stepfather, never gave a public plea. Never cried on camera. Never once joined volunteers in the brush. Geddes pointed out how the timeline shifted in media reports, how 5 minutes became 10, how the door was sometimes said to be ajar, and other times wide open. It wasn't just what was said, it was what wasn't. The inconsistencies, the silences, the things left out. Geddes believed something had gone wrong that morning, something that could no longer be explained by chance or panic. And if that was true, then the real question wasn't where the children went, but why no one inside that trailer wanted to talk about it. Criminal justice experts began to weigh in quietly, some speaking off the record, others more boldly. One criminologist, who asked not to be named, explained that this case doesn't follow the typical pattern of an outside abduction. You almost never see two siblings vanish simultaneously from a secure residence without some form of internal breakdown, they said. That doesn't add up. If it had been a stranger, we'd know it quickly. There would be evidence of entry, panic, resistance, something. Experts emphasized that child abductions by strangers are statistically rare, and when they do happen, the signs are usually immediate and obvious. The lack of such signs here, no struggle, no screaming, no noise, was more alarming than comforting. And that's where Geddes' concerns start to align with professional insight. He's not pointing fingers. He's not calling anyone guilty. But what he is saying is that silence, absence, and evasion are not neutral. They're loud in their own way. In his words, negligence leaves footprints too, just harder to see. He questioned why the house wasn't preserved longer as a crime scene, why some interviews weren't followed up, and why the media seemed to lose interest so quickly. For Geddes, the chilling part isn't just that Lily and Jack are missing. It's that the adults who should have protected them all had different stories. And in a case with no suspects, no charges, and no concrete trail, sometimes it's not what's present that speaks loudest, it's what's missing. The experts weren't alone in their unease. In quiet forums and hushed academic circles, analysts kept returning to the same questions, ones the public had already begun shouting. How does no one hear two children leave? Why weren't there signs of scuffle, or at the very least confusion? In most cases, the home becomes a crime scene, torn apart, examined, photographed. But in this case, the trailer was turned back over to the family within days. No public walkthroughs, no detailed press briefings. And when reporters tried to follow up, they were met with vague answers and silence. Geddes began collecting these inconsistencies, like puzzle pieces that refused to fit. He wasn't accusing, but he wasn't letting go either. He wondered aloud in online interviews, what if this wasn't just about what happened that morning, but what had been happening long before? Were there warning signs? Missed opportunities? He recalled stories from other relatives, unconfirmed, but troubling, about fights behind closed doors, about times the children were left alone longer than they should have been. Nothing definitive, nothing that could be called evidence, but enough to leave a gnawing doubt. And in cases like this, where the physical trail goes cold almost instantly, that doubt becomes the only trail left to follow. Experts say the first 48 hours are everything. But what happens when the people closest to the case spend those hours in retreat, in silence? That's the part that keeps both experts and loved ones awake at night. The idea that someone may know something, and is still choosing not to speak. Rumors began to swirl. In small towns like Gerlach, Nova Scotia, where everyone knows everyone and secrets don't stay buried for long, word travels faster than facts. What started as hushed questions outside grocery stores quickly turned into murmured accusations. In quiet kitchens, over coffee and cracked plates, neighbors speculated. They talked about what they didn't see on the news, what the RCMP wasn't saying. The idea that two young children, Lily and Jack Sullivan, could simply vanish from a trailer in broad daylight, without any noise, without a single clue left behind, it just didn't sit right. People started to ask, were authorities doing enough? Or worse, were they intentionally avoiding something?